There are so many important stories to be told from the Holocaust. One of those is from my next guest about his parents and grandparents. Robert Wolfe is joining me this morning to talk about his book, Not a Real Enemy, the true story of a Hungarian Jewish man's fight for freedom. So welcome to the show. So great to have you here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, so we were just talking earlier, and you were saying this isn't just a Holocaust book. There's so much more in this book that you wrote. Can you tell me a little bit about what's in it?
Well, the book is multidimensional, like you said. It's my dad's biography. My dad became a doctor, finally. It also, anti-Semitism and racism is sort of in the background throughout the whole book, Not a Real Enemy. It's also a history book. It's sort of a history light. It covers little-known Hungary from World War I to the end of the Hungarian Revolution in 1956, after which my parents finally had left after surviving 2 wars, Nazi Hungary, Communist Hungary. Endless persecution, and it's also a book about my parents' or my dad's family's triumphs and tragedies as well. So it's got a lot in it, and it's all centered around the Holocaust, of course, and sort of the story starts with it, but it covers all of that over time. Yeah. So
when you were growing up, I'm sure you heard stories about your family, their escape, their survival. But in writing this book, you said it took you 4 years. What information or what story surprised you, or what did you learn while researching this book?
I learned a lot about my family. I mean, the one thing I remembered from the first half of my life was my dad's first escape. He had multiple escapes, but after my mom and dad wrote it as an autobiography in the 70s, pencil and paper to typewriter to a computer. Flash forward, unfortunately, my dad passed in '97, then my mom passed in 2016. A historian friend of the family from my parents' hometown handed me the disc, so the story's on the disc now. I went back to work as a radiologist after a brief retirement, helping out a friend, looked at the story, and I thought, these stories are amazing. They're miraculous. I learned more about my grandparents, what good people they were, the grandparents I never met, the things, my dad and mom's, the people that you thought would be their enemies turned out to be their friends, the people that thought that they would be their friends turned out to be enemies. And besides the escapes, cloak and dagger stories, forged papers, hiding places that you wouldn't expect, clothes you had to wear, a man on the run for months.
And you were saying your grandparents were they were in concentration camps. You never met them.
Correct.
But your father escaped.
Yeah, he had escaped a forced labor camp. He escaped 2 forced labor camps. One was out in the middle of nowhere, and they kept transporting the men from here to here to here. Wow. Once he had food poisoning. That's something I never knew. That might have saved his life because he got taken to a hospital, and then resumed back to his unit in the middle of what he thought was a death march, and with a bad foot. It was his first escape was with a friend of his. They just sort of ran off the line in the middle of the wintry mountains, snow-covered, freezing, running, scared. And when you read that scene, you can't put it down. And that's not the only one. I don't want too many spoilers because I want people to read about my dad's amazing life and how jovial and jolly he was even after all he had been through, getting to go back to medical school, and which was delayed because he was Jewish, unfortunately. So.
You said he ended up being an OBGYN and delivered countless babies.
Thousands of babies in the Detroit area. And that doesn't even count because he had to redo his residency at Beth Israel in Boston, a Harvard affiliate, which is amazing that he was there, and plus whatever kids he delivered in Hungary. And he was actually an OBGYN during the Hungarian Revolution, and that was a 2-week war, and so now he's a trauma surgeon on top of it. So he was working 24/7 for 2 weeks in a row. I mean, that's and my mom ran the blood bank during that war as well. So they were frontliners in the Hungarian Revolution.
That's amazing. We only have about a minute left, but what do you want people to get out of this book once they read it?
Well, there's so many messages. Of course, the message about the education about anti-Semitism is #1. You get the message right away as you start reading the book. I would love the book to be taught in the classroom. Ultimately, the kids need to read this book. We need to educate our youth about anti-Semitism. I think that would go a long way towards preventing racism and anti-Semitism. Resilience, determination, how you can still overcome the most harrowing times in your life. It's just a very inspiring story. So I think that's what people would get out of it. So, and we have rave reviews so far.
All right. Well, we're going to tell everyone how they can get that book. All right. So you go on Amazon, right? Or anywhere you get your books. I assume.
You can buy the book on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, and now you can buy the book at the U.S. Holocaust Museum in Washington D.C.
Fantastic. And we'll also have his website on the screen right there. So if you want to learn more about him, you can just visit robertjwolfemd.com.